Hey Patreon, this is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. I want to address something that's kind of a passion of mine, and that's about manhood and masculinity. And so this message today is going to be directed mostly just to men. But if you're a lady and you're watching, I ask that you continue to watch because I think that you can get something from this. I truly believe that a man cannot completely fulfill his purpose and be a good man without the support of a good woman. And most of you women, if not all, probably have a man in your life, whether it's a little man or a big man. I suspect that you have one, and those men in your life need you in support so that they can fulfill their purpose to be a good man. We complain all the time about all the things that's going on in the world, don't we? I mean, that's what we're doing. We get online, we read it, we watch these videos, we get on things like this one, and we just complain about how the world is just going down the big porcelain throne, right? It's awful. The world is in an awful place. We're in an awful place politically, economically, and especially morally. Who is to blame? Whose fault is it? You know what? It's my fault. It's your fault if you're a man. It may sound harsh, but I believe that it's true. It is our fault that the world is the way it is, because for too many generations now, men in this country and around the world have basically given up their responsibilities. They have walked away from what they are meant to be. Men were meant to be leaders. Men were meant to be of high moral character. Men were meant to be courageous, to be just, to be filled with honor, and to seek righteousness. That's what being a man is about. Being a man isn't about walking around with big muscles and scratching yourself and dragging your knuckles. It's not about all the great manly feats that you can do. And being a man also isn't about how sensitive and how understanding and how caring you can be. Being a man is much more than any of those things. Yes, a man should be able to be somewhat physically strong, should be able to hopefully protect his family and the ones that he loves around him. I understand that there are circumstances that can change that, but in the general rule, a man should be able to do that. And yes, a man should have a sensitive side, should be able to understand and feel compassion and be able to embrace his emotions, but yet also control them. But it's more than just either of those. We live in a world where being a man is not required to be male. And it's a sad state of affairs that we live in that world. We live in a world that corruption rules the day, and that we have allowed our society to tell us that masculinity and that all the traits that are required to be a good man are bad. And I believe in my soul that if you go back in this nation's history and you start to look at when it started taking a downward spiral, you will also see that's when masculinity and true manhood started taking a downward spiral. For years, I've heard people comment that, oh, it's all the feminists. It's all the radical left. It's all these progressive feminists and progressive, communist Marxists, and even I say that kind of stuff. And while it's true that many of them are doing this stuff, they're only doing it because the men have sat on their haunches for too long and allowed it. You men, it's time to man up. It's time to take charge of your home. Before you do that, though, you have to take charge of your life. You have to embrace true masculine qualities. No, again, masculine qualities aren't about how good you can use a chainsaw and how many bears you can down, or, how good of a fighter that you are. Masculine qualities are where a man puts others first, where a man has the strength to stand up for what's right, where a man isn't afraid to stand up against evil, where a man has the courage to say all this stuff around us, these new policies, these new social norms, they're wrong. And that we do it regardless of what hate that we get, regardless of how many times we're canceled, or that we're censored, or that we're told how much of a bigot and a hater that we are. It's time for men to take a stand. No matter how much we prepare, no matter how much we, protest, or no matter how much that we board ourselves up on our little homesteads and say, we're just going to live self-sufficient here, things aren't going to change if good men do nothing. And that's what's happened for a long time. You have to start within your life, in your heart, and realize that these qualities that for all time have been known to be what it takes to be a real man, they have to be worked at. They don't really just come natural. I mean, they come natural in a certain manner of speaking, but you have to work at it. You have to try to be a man. It's easy to be a coward. It's easy to be a wimp. It's easy to be a sissy. It takes strength. It takes courage. It takes moral fortitude to stand up and say, I'm a man. And this is how a man conducts himself. A man isn't something that's overbearing. A man isn't something that rules with an iron fist in his home without any understanding or compassion. A man isn't something that uses his strength against those that are weak within his home and outside of his home. A man isn't someone that rules without any compassion. A man isn't really someone that rules at all. A man is a leader. And there's a difference between being a boss and being a leader. A leader leads by example. A leader shows his wife and his children, this is what strength is. This is what godliness is. This is what morality is. For far too long in this country, the moral standards in a home have been put on the shoulders of the woman, of the mother, of the wife. There's nothing wrong, don't get me wrong, and ladies, hear me out. There's nothing wrong with a woman, the mother, the wife, pushing those moral standards in the home. Nothing at all wrong with it. But she shouldn't have to do it all on her own. She should have the backing, maybe standing on the shoulders of her husband. He should be that foundation of righteousness in a home. And if that's not the case, then there's something wrong in your home. Men, don't expect the moral compass in your home to be the standard to be set by the woman of the house. No, it's to be set by you. And if you aren't taking a stand in teaching your children, this is what we believe, this is what's right or wrong, this is how you respect your mother, these are the rules that we have in our house and how we believe and why we believe them, then you're not doing your duty as a man, and you, in the end, aren't a man. You may be male, but not a man. The idea of what manhood is has been very perverted in this country. And today, in today's world, I've talked to my wife about this, that it's almost like there's only two acceptable types of men. This ridiculous, over-the-top grunt that has no understanding, no intelligence, no sympathy, no emotion whatsoever, doesn't care about people, doesn't care how he sounds, doesn't care about helping, doesn't care about being a moral leader in his home, or an over-feminized, weak, sissy, feminized, multi-gender, or whatever they want to call it, male. And I believe that this is what I don't even know what to call it, the evilness in this world. Let's just say that. This is what the evil part of this world wants. I firmly believe that they know that the only way they can win is if they destroy men. And I know that some of you might say, wow, that's saying a lot. I believe it's true. I'm not saying that a woman can't be a leader. I'm not saying that a woman doesn't bear responsibility for things going on in the home and the world. I'm not saying that a woman can't be a protector and that a woman can't take a stand for righteousness. I'm not saying any of those things, so don't misinterpret what I'm saying. I am saying that the morality of this nation and the morality of your home is in the state that it's in, whether it's good or bad, because of men, whether they're taking a stand or not. If you have children, maybe daughters, and you don't like that your daughter is maybe how she dresses or how she behaves, especially around boys. If you have a son and you don't like how he treats women or the things that he desires and wants to be involved in and how worldly maybe they've become, it's your fault. We have to stop blaming everyone else on the problems that are going on in our home and in this world. And we certainly have to stop saying that it's not my fault, that it's maybe the woman's fault, it's these feminists, it's these radical, LGBTQ crowd and all that sort of stuff. The reasons why we have the problems we do, it's because men sit on the sidelines too long. They came for us in the beginning, and we did not take a stand. When we were told that it wasn't proper to behave like a man, that it was offensive to some, and that it wasn't good to teach your children, especially your sons, to be a man, that you don't have to teach them to hold a door open for a woman. And the women would say, oh, I don't hold a door open for me. That it's offensive to have a boy or a man address a woman with yes ma'am, or to pull a seat out for a lady, that we're not to treat women like that because that's demeaning to women. And then it went from that to, oh, well, it's okay for men to wear makeup, and it's okay for men to act a little feminine. It's okay for men to put on women's clothes. And now it's to the point that, well, there really just isn't a gender called men, right? I mean, you may have male parts, but you're not really a man anymore. In fact, it's to the point that it's laughable that this younger generation, I guess we could call them hipsters for this video, that these men, they dress up like men. They want to look like a lumberjack. They want to grow a big beard, and they want to wear work boots and a flannel shirt. But they're not men. I know some of them are, but most of them are not. They just want to look that part, but they don't actually want to behave in that way. They don't want to be strong and courageous and without fear. They don't want to do the part that is required to be a man. Guys, We're losing this country fast. We are. We're losing our homes fast. We're losing our children fast. I read a statistic the other day that this youngest generation, the ones that are kids and teenagers nowadays, has the highest level of bisexual or multi-gender identity of any previous generation, which isn't a big shock. The national statistic shows that about 15% of people under 18 now identify as something other than what they were born with. 15%. I think it was 14.8. That's a real high number, folks, and it's only going to get higher. Excuse me. I can't think of the word because it slipped my mind right now. But back in the Middle Ages, medieval times, there were policies where the lords, back in the feudal system, where the kings and the lords, I think prima nocta, that's the word, they would have rights, sexual rights to a newly married bride on her night of the wedding. And they believed it was a way of spreading their seed and breeding out the bad people. This has been done throughout history, where they would, instead of killing everyone, they would breed with the women. And I know this sounds very callous and harsh, the words that I'm using, but it is true. And they would do that so that they would kind of breed out that people, so that all their offspring would now be sons and daughters of the king or whoever. The reason why I'm saying that is that's almost like what's happening now. They're breeding men out of existence. I know this is very conspiracy, right? But it's true. They're telling these young boys in school, on TV, on the internet, video games, whatever, that it's not cool anymore to be a man. They know that they're not going to necessarily change my generation or any past generations much more than they already have. So their plan is to destroy manhood with the younger generations and every generation coming forward. And if you think it's bad now, give it another 10, 15, 20 years, and I assure you it's going to be drastically worse if someone does not take a stand, if we do not take a stand. It's time for men to stand up. You need to man up. That's all there is to it. Teach your young boys to be men. And don't be ashamed of that. And teach them not to be ashamed to be a man. Teach your young girls to seek a man. Something that we do every week here in our home is we lay hands and we pray over our children. We pray over the boys and we pray over the girls. And when we do that, we ask that wherever their future mates are, that the Father would protect them and guide them and help them to become righteous men, or to help them to become virtuous women as they grow older. And we do the best that we think that we can to teach our children to seek a virtuous and righteous person for whomever they would marry in the future. This is something we have to start doing, folks. We men and you ladies are being bred out of existence. Again, I apologize for the crassness of what I'm saying, but it is true. We are being bred out of existence. It's time that you and I take a stand. Men, you need to unite and man up and be a man, starting in your home. Raise your children to be young men and young women. Treat your wife like the lady that she is. Show her that you are a man, not by how you can walk around and strut yourself, but show her you're a man by how you love her and how you care for her. and how you show her that you can lead the home, that you're not putting all the burden upon her on how to lead your home spiritually and morally. It is your job, and if you step up to the plate and you do that, if she's a good lady, she will be right there beside you all along the way. That is the proper balance in a home. Not for the man to be sitting there drinking beer, watching football, while the woman is trying to raise the children. I'm going to leave you with this. If you're unfamiliar with the poem called If by Rudyard Kipling, you should look it up and you should teach it to your children. In fact, they should memorize it, especially the young boys in your home. My mother required me to memorize it, and I think it made a pretty good impact on me, and I think about it every once in a while. Man up, take a stand, and be a man in your home. Thank you all for watching. Catch you in the next video.